Now, you can excuse the Republican movement for being a little cocky these days. They have a proactive Republican Prime Minister in office who last month appointed the nation's first ever Assistant Minister for the Republic. Also this year, the Australian Republican movement released a proposed method for nominating and electing a president, which was the insurmountable obstacle the last time the nation debated and voted on this topic in 1999. Its polling has supposedly found that this model is supported by 73% of Australians. ARM Chair Peter Fitzsimons says, quote, "The stars are aligning for an Australian Republic. We look forward to working with the federal government to ensure all Australians get a say about who represents them as head of state. We have the wind in our sails, the timing is perfect, we're on our way." Now, there are three aspects of the current arrangement that annoy the ARM. Our head of state is hereditary and doesn't live in Australia and therefore is not, quote, "able to unify our nation in times of celebration or crisis." But whether they admit it or not, a republic is part of a much wider agenda. The republic will sever not only what remains of our constitutional ties to Britain, it will also sever cultural ones that until recently were fundamental to us. The Queen embodies many of these, such as civility, humour, public service, decorum, and of course, stability, all values drawn largely from our Christian heritage. Now, there's no reason to assume an Australian can't fill this role, but there are reasons to think that the Republican movement, as it stands, is not interested in that. What does the Republic represent, other than the desire for an elected Australian head of state who can unify us? You can scan the ARM's website for an answer, but you won't find one. But you will, if you look closely enough, find a correlation between republicanism and leftist politics. You don't need to be a leftist to support a republic, but it seems that almost all leftists are Republicans. Fitzsimons' politics are well known. His many emphatic opinions, published in his newspaper columns, routinely align with Labor policy. He ruthlessly vilified Israel Folau for his Christian beliefs and thinks men should be allowed to compete in women's sports if they think they're women. Are these the kind of ideas he hopes will be more acceptable under a republic? Under the Republican movement's model, the various parliaments around Australia would put forward a field of candidates for head of state, and the people would elect their favourite. In a promotional video for the Republican movement released in January, Socceroo Craig Foster says in a soft, soothing voice that such a head of state would be one of the, quote, "most eminent, trusted and beloved citizens who will then represent this, quote, beautifully diverse country at home and abroad." But there might be an inbuilt flaw in this. How can one person represent a country that's defined by its diversity? Can't that only happen in a society that is defined by uniformity?